Hey there! We're a pair of basic liches. We are two D&D Dungeon Masters trying to play Pathfinder 2nd Edition for the first time. In this video series, we're going over every class in the core rulebook. We'll be doing some basic overview of the class. We'll give a day in the life of how this class plays out in a day of adventuring. And then we'll give some Game Master tips, as well as some comparisons to 5th Edition D&D.
We've reached the conclusion, folks. We are at the end of the core rulebook's classes, which means we're covering the wizard. As always, these are not deep dives into the character class options. We are looking at the wizard class strictly at level 1 and how we think it plays for new GMs and new players like us that are coming over from Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition to Pathfinder 2e. We're talking about wizards, Harry. Wizards are the lovable grumps of the tabletop role-playing world, and I, for one, am excited to see how Paizo and Pathfinder 2e have taken this class and made it their own.
Let's take a little bit of inspiration away from pop culture. What kind of wizards in pop culture do you think of?
For my pop culture wizard, I am choosing Howl from the masterpiece Howl's Moving Castle. This is an amazing character. This is not your archetypical bearded wizard. It's not Dumbledore. It's not Gandalf. It's a very young, charismatic wizard who is deeply secretive. He's very mysterious, but at his heart, he is incredibly good-natured. And I love that a major plot point of this movie is that these nations are at war, and Howl is a pacifist, and he hates fighting, and these nations are trying to conscript him into battle, and he is like vehemently against it.
And then another character I chose that was kind of out there was from Stargate SG-1, a character by the name of Thor. This character is an alien of the Asgard race, and they have a lot of knowledge and technology. And I really like the idea of a wizard that knows so much and will give some of his knowledge to the lesser creatures, but not the best tricks, not the best technological tricks up their sleeve. They're going to keep that for themselves because these puny lesserlings don't understand it yet and will not use it correctly. All right, let's start with a basic overview of the wizard. Our key ability is going to be intelligence. We could support this with a little bit of charisma, or we could support it with some wisdom. Wolf, could you prestidigitate the proficiency list over here, please? List of wizard proficiencies. Trained skills, expert skills.
Oh,
And there they go.
first thing we want to cover is arcane spellcasting. As a wizard, this is going to give us the ability to cast spells using the cast spell activity. Wonderful, Paizo.
Nice.
You're going to be able to cast arcane spells using arcane spellcasting. At first level, you're going to get 2 spells that you get to choose from the arcane spell list, and you're going to gain 1 more spell from your chosen arcane school, which we'll get to in a little bit. On top of that, you're going to choose 5 cantrips, and you're going to get 1 extra one, not from your blood, but from your arcane school.
Prepared spells remain available to you until you cast them or until the next time that you're doing preparations for the day. The number of spells you can prepare is called your spell slots. At level 1, wizards get 2 spell slots to use.
At first level, you can prepare 2 level 1 spells, and you get a 3rd one from your arcane school. On top of that, you're going to be able to prepare 5 cantrips, and you guessed it, you get 1 more from your arcane school. Every arcane spell has a written down version, which is usually copied into a spell book. As a wizard, at first level, you're going to get a spell book that is worth 10 silver pieces, but you're going to get it for free. In that spell book, you can write down up to 10 cantrips and 5 first level spells. Of the spells that you can prepare for the day, those are all of your options. Think of it as a arcane menu of delicious, delectable spells to delight and destroy your enemies with. Each time you level up, you can add 2 more spells to your spellbook. You scribble them in there, and you're good to go. But while out adventuring, if you find a scroll, or maybe somebody put down a fireball spell on some toilet paper, you can copy that into your spellbook using your Arcana skill and making some skill checks and doing some fun things.
Many arcane spellcasters dive deeply into a specific school of magic that they would like to master. If you'd like to be a specialist wizard, then choose a school of magic that you're specialized in, and you will get some extra spells and spell slots for that school. If you don't choose to specialize in a specific school of magic, then you are a universalist wizard. This wizard believes that only true understanding of magic can be gained through the combination, the union of all 8 magics, and understanding that knowledge. The universalist wizard is a little less focused and a little more flexible. And in terms of gameplay, you can expect to see some additional spells and maybe some additional feats with this class feature.
So yeah, you're losing out on those class-specific spells that you're getting, as well as the focus spells, the focus arcane spells that come from having an arcane school. Wizards gain access to the feature Arcane Bond. This is taking an item that is on your persons that typically is used for spell casting, like a ring, a wand, or a staff, and you're able to imbue some magical energy into this item, which gives us access to the Drain Bond ability, which is a free action to use on your turn. When you use that free action to use the Drain Bonded item ability, what you're doing is you're able to cast a spell out of that mundane item. You can cast a prepared spell that you've already cast that day, and you get to recast it using Drain Bonded item. And you can do this once per day as a free action.
So during your studies to become a full-fledged wizard, you have come up with a thesis on a magical topic of your choosing. You gain a special benefit depending on the topic, and Wolf's going to give you a rundown of each of the topics.
Stay in school, all you wannabe wizards, because if you're a universalist, you do not gain access to the Arcane Thesis. So there are 4 of them in the core rulebook, and each one of them acts similar to the Hunter's Edge that the Rangers get. These are little ability boosts that are for your wizard. Let's take a look at them right now. The very first one is Improved Familiar Attunement. So if you're going to be choosing to have the Find Familiar feat, this is going to make your familiar a little bit more powerful, a little bit more useful. Next up, we have Metamagic Experimentation. This is going to allow you at 1st level, and I believe maybe at 4th level, to choose a feat that has the Metamagic trait. Spell Blending is another option for your Arcane Thesis. This lets you take spell slots of a certain level, blend them together, add up what spell slot levels they are, and go up a few levels in spell slots, up to 2 levels higher. So if you had a 1st level spell slot and a 2nd level spell slot, as long as you had access to 3rd level spell slots, you can make another 3rd level spell slot. With the power of blending! The last Arcane Thesis available to the wizards is called Spell Substitution. This is for the wizard that will not be unprepared for any situation. You have that spell book that is chock full of cantrips and spells. What this lets you do is take 10 minutes out of your day, take 1 prepared spell, ditch it into the nether regions of your brain where you're like, I don't remember that, and then a new one pops in. So as long as you got 10 uninterrupted minutes, you can prepare a brand new spell. We are not going to go over every single school of magic, every arcane school. What we're going to do instead is pop up on the screen a graphic here, and we're going to go over each of the arcane schools available and which focus spell you're going to gain from said school of magic.
Cool. Sweet. Really quick, some key terms. We got the Metamagic. If this trait is on an action, then it tweaks the properties of your spells. Cantrips are a special type of spell that don't cost spell slots. And Heightened Spell, we're at level 1, so don't worry about it yet. If you're digging our content and you'd like to stick around for more, don't forget to prestidigitate the subscribe button over there and toll the dead for notifications for new videos.
Go ahead and show us liches some of your love. Leave us a comment. Let us know your thoughts about the Pathfinder 2e wizard. Let us have it.
So let's do an example of the day in the life of playing a wizard. Where do we start?
It's going to be a nice, quiet day. We've snuck away from the adventuring party. They tend to be a little rowdy. They kind of get into trouble. We just want to go to an old, dusty library and study some books. Nice, simple, quiet day. What could possibly go wrong? Our unseen servant is carrying a bunch of our wizard crap, and over our shoulder we've got a rucksack with our familiar and lunch. On top of that, we've got a nice pot of coffee to keep us going throughout the day. So we cast prestidigitation on a mug, get a nice hot cup of coffee going, sit down, crack open the spine of an old dusty tome that could hold the secrets of the universe, or it might just have some weird animated doodle in the bottom right-hand corner because wizards get bored and they have scatterbrains, so we're just flipping through and it's just a guy casting magic missile at a bunch of goblins.
While skimming through some text, we read aloud a paragraph written in Abyssal. We fail our intelligence check and we kind of mispronounce a word or two. This causes the letters to come alive right off the page and it forms an inky mephit. It immediately is starting to cast a spell that we recognize as Magic Missile. So we counterspell that nonsense and we smash our palm flat down into that swirling jumble of words. It's dead. As we go to inspect our hand, there's now some legible, inky, abyssal words on our palm. Clearly some kind of curse we're gonna have to deal with.
After that weird encounter, we yawn, stretch, and stand up for the first time in what feels like hours. It's time for lunch. We rifle through our rucksack looking for our brie and caramelized apple sandwich and a nice little pint of booze that we've had. But it's gone missing. Someone has stolen our lunch. Our familiar Merlin, the cat, has been walking around the table this whole time, just sort of patrolling the perimeter, but apparently he missed this. But no worries, we still have confidence in this familiar. We scratch his chin, give him a little piece of jerky we had hidden on our persons, and he is on the scent. He is going to track down this interloper, this thief, and we are going to find them and get our, hopefully that sandwich back because it sounds delicious, and we want to wash it down with that booze. So we leave all of our stuff at our table as we go to follow Merlin, but like any good wizard, we don't leave our crap unattended. We cast the alarm spell, which means if someone goes near our shit and doesn't say a secret password, we are going to get an alert in our brains that someone's trying to steal our crap.
We squint in the darkness and we cast light on the staff as we follow Merlin into the darkness in the library. After several minutes of shuffling through dusty corridors of bookshelves, we finally found the culprit. A large, corpulent rat, the size of a terrier, is sitting on its hindquarters, fumbling with the cork of a bottle. Crumbs all over its fat belly. It yells out a large... That sandwich is long gone. Merlin moves in to attack, but you notice that the rat is wearing little boots and a tattered cape. Man, this is some dumbass wizard who cast the wrong spell and turned themselves into a rat. We cast command on them to make them drop our bottle of booze and get the hell out of there. Shoo.
After we recover our precious booze, something happens, something terrible. A gong goes off in our brain, in our mind. Uh-oh, someone has tripped the alarm. We need to get back to our research table now. Unfortunately, we're kind of lost. We look around and all of these bookshelves, they're alike. They're dusty and dark and full of dumb books. Shit. We make a few intelligent rolls and we do figure out to get our bearings and we're near our stuff. We can see our research table, but it's dark and there are two humanoids standing over our shit. Oh God, this is not good. They're gonna steal all of my secrets. They're gonna steal my secrets! Think. What would a wizard do? I am a wizard. What? I cast sleep! And the two humanoids drop like a sack of potatoes into a crumpled heap of snores and drool. Upon getting closer, it's actually the barbarian and the rogue of our party. The bard steps from behind one of the bookshelves and crunches down on an apple. Yeah, we just came to find you because we might need to get out to town real quick. I'm not saying it has anything to do with these scrolls. As he tosses them to us, we catch the stolen contraband, these scrolls, shake our head, kick the barbarian, kick the rogue, get up, gather all of our stuff, have unseen servants start carrying our crap away. Merlin, get in the rucksack, pop open that beer, crush it, and get on our way, because God only knows what these guys got into. And on top of that, your hand starts itching uncontrollably. You look down, God damn it. The little words in Abyssal start pulsating, and You just itch your palm uncontrollably. This is some bullshit I'm gonna have to deal with. And I didn't even get to learn a new spell. Let's get into some assumptions. We're gonna go pros and cons. We're gonna go difficulty for newbies to play this class. You've been warned.
Pros and cons. What are the best things about this Pathfinder class?
I feel like if you've chosen to be a wizard, you are expecting to be the ultimate spellcaster. You want to be better than the bard, you want to be better than the sorcerer, and to some extent, I feel like Paizo succeeds at this. You gain a ton of spells in that spell book. I like how Paizo has also flavored a lot of the choices you're making.
I really like how it's almost the scientific magic user in this sense, where you're doing research and you have a thesis, and it really gets you thinking that way. I did play Ezrin in the beginner's box, and, you know, he was the type of wizard that had spell substitution. I really liked that, sitting for 10 minutes and choosing a different spell out of your spell book. So I don't really know how the universalist wizard plays, and I'm kind of skeptical on it. It just seems like another cop-out type of class, and so it's more like, oh, you don't like theme? Well, you don't have to have theme. You can just study anything from any of the 8 classes, and here you go. Here's some mechanics, because that's what the Fury Barbarian?
The Fury Instinct.
Fury Instinct Barbarian, that's what that felt like too. It was just like, don't want to have any fun with theme or any of this stuff, any of this BS? Well, fine, here's a Barbarian that does extra damage, and that's about it. That's kind of what it seems like to me. Maybe they're fun to play, and yes, the concept is cool of like, okay, well, it's just the balance of all 8 schools of magic, but could they have themed it a little better? I feel like they could have.
As you were talking, a thought popped into my little lizard brain, and I think the reason it might exist is because it's an easier option. It cuts out some of the bullshit.
Yeah, I don't need to make a choice.
You don't have to make any of these choices. You don't have to worry about
That's true.
focus points,
Yeah, that
focus
makes sense.
spells. You don't have to have an arcane thesis.
Yeah.
It does sort of rip away some of that theme and that flavor, which we love. But I think if you're brand new and you're like terrified of that stuff, you would pick that one.
You're right. That's a good point. It does simplify it.
It does. I'm not a huge fan of it. If I'm a game master, I would sort of nudge them away from that. I'd be like, come on, you want to do the other one? It's better. Who do we think the wizard is perfect for? What kind of player would enjoy this class the most, Kamo?
I think pretty much the player that likes to have the answers in terms of knowledge and the spells that they can cast. Also, players with a really good memory that don't mind reading a lot between turns. I feel like when I play wizards, that's mostly what I'm doing. And like, my turn comes, I want to be ready for my next turn, so I'm, you know, my face is buried in the book looking at what spell I'm going to cast next.
You're looking in your spell book. It's highly, you're role-playing.
Of course.
I think certain players are drawn to the wizard class like moths to flame. It is a certain sort of power fulfillment fantasy that is very enjoyable, especially for someone like me. I love the idea of being this person that can wield magic, and you're eventually going to get so powerful that you have almost godlike abilities.
Where are we ranking this class on difficulty from 1 to 5?
For me, I'm putting it at a 4 out of 5, one of the higher ones that we've covered in this series. I think the mechanics themselves are very clean, they're very straightforward, but I kind of alluded to this earlier. There is just a ton that you're going to have to memorize. You have to learn all of your cantrips, like 10 of them. You're going to have to learn 5 spells, a focus spell, plus you get an arcane school spell from the school of magic that you choose. And then if you take the familiar, you have to learn about the familiar rules. It's a lot for a newbie to digest. So that's what we're talking about for difficulty.
Yeah.
Is new players. How intimidating is this class? I'm putting it at a 4 out of 5. If you're brand new to Pathfinder and you're a game master and you have a wizard at your table, we got you covered. We got some game master tips coming your way.
Something I like to try to be aware of when there's a wizard at the table is noticing what spells they're choosing or preparing for the day, and challenging them to come up with new mixtures of spells that they have. This might be easier in something like Pathfinder, where you have to prepare your specific spells at specific spell slot levels. And I'm not telling you to thwart your player. Do not make it so that the encounter is just unaffected by any spell that they have prepared. make it so that you're changing it enough to keep them interested and keep them thinking about, okay, oh, maybe I need to dive in and swap these out. I'm not using these now, and this would be more useful here. You want that to happen. The wizard is the class that I feel like a lot of excessive rolls are made for intelligence checks, for knowing things and knowledge. Make sure that everyone in your party feels knowledgeable about a specific topic, that their class or their knowledge of lore, something they would know. Make sure everyone in the party knows something and is not just dumb and the wizard is the smartest and knows all. Okay, make sure there's an even balance there. A lot of times the wizard can just run away with, I have the highest intelligence and knowledge check, so I'm gonna make this check and everyone else is dumb because I'm gonna always succeed at this. Like, try to defeat that. There are some things that the wizard doesn't know, and there are some things that the wizard does know. If it's within his school of magic or within his study, then why even make a check for it if it's not that difficult of a thing? Just make it known.
For the rogue, I mentioned having a thieves guild. In our day of the life, we talked about going to like this dusty library. I think having a arcane academy, an arcane school, somewhere nearby that the wizard can visit is an ample opportunity for role-playing.
Let's compare the 5e to the Pathfinder 2e wizards. What are they like? And who's better?
Who's better? I like them both. I think the 5e wizard, I've played a ton of this. It works very, very well. I think the primary difference comes down to the action economy system from both systems. In 5e, you have the different types of actions. You have your standard action, you have your attack action, your bonus action, your reaction.
And then you're concentrating on spells.
And then you have a lot of concentrating. Yeah. With Pathfinder, you just have that beautiful, elegant 3-action economy. And I love how it lets you cast spells that are like 1 action, like or 3 actions with Magic Missile. And instead of having concentrate, you can just sustain a spell. So instead of having to recast it or spend another spell slot, you're just like, okay, I have this up. On my turn, I move 30 feet over there, but I use 2 of my actions to keep that spell up. Yeah. And that's something you get to choose to do with your actions. It feels like you have more control. And I really dig that. The reason I want to give the Pathfinder 2e wizard the nod instead of the 5e wizard, which I've played and I have loved, is that I feel that the 5e wizard is stale and boring because the spell list, I've played thousands of hours of D&D, and a lot of those hours I've played a wizard, and the spell list is not that diverse in 5e.
Yeah.
A lot of the different spellcasters have access to your wizard spells, and the wizard just has access to like all of them. And what ends up happening is you use the same spells all the time.
There's like a magical loadout almost. That's almost the answer to everything in 5e, that you probably never have to change anything.
I try to go out of my way to pick weird and unique spells that I don't see people taking all the time, just because I'm so bored of the same old same in 5e. And this is partially Wizards of the Coast's fault because they've been so stringent and they just refuse to put out player-facing content that's not just like new subclasses. Like, it takes them forever to come up with new spells over the course of like almost 10 years. Yeah. So that spell list is so mundane. And when you're playing a wizard, the last thing you want to feel is mundane. You're supposed to be magical. You're supposed to be doing stuff that is beyond human comprehension. You're casting magic. It should feel dangerous. It should feel exciting.
That's why every time I play a wizard, I have to re-theme every spell that I cast into something different to feel like I'm a different wizard. I'm a wizard. I'm not a sorcerer. I'm not a druid. I'm casting different spells in 5e. But in Pathfinder, I feel like our preparations and our choices from our spell book are more important in this rule system.
How do you feel about your spells being able to crit or getting other abilities when you fumble, because you have that fumble deck, so you can get some bad stuff that happens.
How could I forget about that?
That is my favorite thing about the Pathfinder wizard.
That's what made me happiest playing the wizard is when I crit, I looked down at the description for the spell, and it was like, oh, it has this special ability to like, ray of frost.
It would slow them
Freezing ray
down.
just like slows them down, or there were different critical effects.
It just feels more magical. It feels actually sort of like you're controlling chaos, which magic should be. It should be sort of dangerous. Yeah. I hate how video gaming it feels in 5e. Like, you know that if you cast Fireball or if you cast these things, you know what it's going to do.
In cinema, we see this happen. I love that it shows that when you cast a spell as a wizard, there's a chance that you don't really cast it correctly. Like, you didn't put the emphasis on the right syllable to say the spell. And some casted spells, they flub. Like in the D&D movie, trying to cast the illusion, he gets his foot stuck and he's not concentrating on the spell, and the image starts to distort. That is shown in the things like the criticals. It's like, you casted this spell perfectly, and the frost ray just freezes them in their tracks. Like, that's perfect. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for sticking through us on this journey of learning Pathfinder. If you want to watch the series, it's complete and it's right here. If you'd like to learn a brand new system, we have Wolf's video on Dungeon Crawl Classics right over there. Later, Liches.
Bye!